So I'm hanging out here at this Sheraton. I think you should hang out with me. I recently had a call with my mom. Hi, Mama! And she was talking about listening to my YouTube and thinking that some people might not like listening to them because they were too spiritual. And I thought that was really funny because when I was up until 2010, I would not use the word spiritual. And I thought I might use that as a gateway to explore a little bit this subject of spirituality and what it means to different people. So here's the question I have for you. What does spiritual mean to you? I think for a lot of people, and certainly for me years ago, spiritual meant religious, or putting belief in something outside of me that I didn't experience directly, or giving away my power or my thinking for myself to some man or woman on a pulpit who told me about experiences that I had not myself had. And that's not the way I experience spirituality anymore. Now, when I think about spirituality, I think about that quiet voice inside you. You know the joke where they have the cartoon image of the little angel on one shoulder and the little devil on the other shoulder, and one voice says what your conscience thinks you should do and the other voice says what your conscience thinks you shouldn't do. But I think sometimes there are moments when we have a voice inside us. It's a very quiet voice, but it guides us in ways that we don't expect. For example, one time I was in a car and it was a dark night and black ice on the roads. And as we were driving, the car started to fishtail. And I was in the back seat of the car and I very distinctly heard a voice say, "Don't worry, everything will be okay." And as the car started to fishtail more and more wildly, there were two vehicles on the road, and there was no way that we could keep fishtailing and manage not to hit one of these two cars or both. And I just felt, after hearing that voice, I felt so relaxed. And as we were fishtailing, our car managed to slide directly in between the other two cars on the road perfectly, and then continue fishtailing on the other side. And the experience mystified me because that wasn't my head saying that. And I'm certain that you've had an experience at some point in your life where a little voice told you something, or you had a knowing, something that you absolutely knew that later wound up happening, or guided you in a direction that benefited you, or that if you listened to it would have guided you in a direction that would have benefited you. Yesterday I was at the airport, and after 12 hours of travel fatigue and not sleeping right for 2 days, standing outside with loud buses going by and lots of traffic, I had a conversation with a stranger who was talking faster than I think, and I could barely hear him properly and couldn't think straight. But I knew he was fundamentally a good guy. You've probably met people along your travels along the way that you just knew were good people fundamentally. I think those are the kinds of hints that we get from the universe, that there's a guidance within us that goes beyond our mind and goes beyond what people say we should or shouldn't be doing. So I invite you to think about the times that you've had that guidance, and when it's easier to hear that voice and when it's not so easy to hear that voice. I think one of the most valuable things that we can do with our lifetimes is get better and better at hearing that quiet little voice inside. For me, sometimes it takes quiet space to hear it. But I'm getting better at it. I recently saw a video on Instagram of a woman who is talking about the head and the heart. And she said, the heart is magnetic and the mind is electric. I thought that was really interesting because the mind puts out thought and electric like a thunderbolt radiates its frequency. A magnet attracts. When we think of magnetism, we think of things coming together. And that's what the heart does. And she said, together, the heart and the mind make us the bridge between what is above and what is below. She said, that which is above is electric, and that which is below is magnetic, that the earth is magnetic. It holds us to it. We don't just float away. We are magnetized to the planet. And she said that puts us in that middle ground that certain cultures believe is holy. Being in the middle is a holy place, and that we are in the middle of that place between the above and the below. And I've always thought about the body and mind and the environment around us as electromagnetic, so I thought her perspective was really interesting. What do you think? What does your quiet inner voice have to say about the electric mind and the magnetic heart? I think that's how telepathy works. That our minds are capable of registering electromagnetic frequencies, just like birds, only we are out of practice, and society and culture doesn't teach us how to sustain and strengthen that. So some of us are not able to connect with that at all, and some people are. I tried to understand telepathically what Tony was talking about, but I couldn't hear anything with all of the buses and my travel fatigue. Years and years ago, I studied and certified in Myers-Briggs, and they were giving a definition for intuition as the mind and body's capacity to register information beyond what the brain consciously recognizes and parses. And I thought that was interesting because it demystified intuition. And in a similar way, I think that there are ways that a civilization advanced enough would be able to demystify spirituality. But fundamentally, what I want you to hear is I'm totally with you that rather than abdicating our power and our guidance to some external doctrine or some mandates created by organized religion, I tend to prefer to listen inward to the guidance within. I know that when I take time to get very quiet and listen to my heart and listen for that quiet inner voice, I've reached places of relaxation and comfort beyond anything else. So I like practices that cultivate that experience from within. So even if you are not a spiritual person or you don't use the word spirituality, I invite you to listen to my Expand playlist. Little by little, I will add more videos to that. And play around with different exercises toward connecting with that guidance within. What would you call it? Have a wonderful day or night. Bye.